We ran a little bit over right there with traffic, so let's dive right in. Dr. Vance Ginn with the Pelican Institute is here with us. First of all, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. One
Good.
of the things I like about this event is I finally get to meet everybody in person who
Yeah.
I talk to on the phone throughout the year, so that's always a good thing. Let's start in with your role here today. We're talking taxes. We're talking budget. This is your power alley, man.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There was a budget panel talking about budget fights, what we need to do in order to restrain spending, to make sure that we have enough for tax relief and things of that nature. I'm also going to be on a panel talking about poverty relief as well. But the big thing right now is on budget. What are we going to do with the budget?
Yeah.
What's going to happen during session? And can we get to a path to flat income taxes? That's where we really want to get first, but until eventual elimination of income taxes.
Right. And so I've been asking this question. I'll continue to ask this question. Is that even doable in Louisiana? With our demographic makeup, with our level of poverty, can we actually do that without actually breaking people's backs?
I think we have to. Given the situation with poverty, 17% poverty rate, right, in Louisiana, the highest in the nation according to the official poverty rate, I think we've really got to, and people are fleeing, right? People are leaving Louisiana.
Yeah.
We've got to have a way for them to stay. And incentives matter when you talk about taxes and the high tax system that's here right now. That would help us if we flatten it and eventually get to elimination. More businesses would stay here. More people would stay here. You have a more flourishing economy, and then poverty rate would come down. So I don't think it's that we can't do it. We have to do it in order for us to have more prosperity here.
And the dirty back end of that is the longer we go without addressing it, the more the people who can afford to pay taxes are going to move somewhere that they're not. So all that's left is the poverty. The money leaves. The poverty doesn't leave.
Yes, that's right. I mean, incentives matter, right?
Yeah.
Economics 101. And so if you have a tax system that's disincentivizing people to work, do business, be entrepreneurial, you're going to have people flee. And so we've really got to get it to a situation where we can eliminate income taxes. There's a lot of states, 22 states have been cutting taxes over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Louisiana's got to be one of them, and we've got to make sure that we continue to cut taxes, and so that way we have more opportunity for prosperity until we get to that elimination. And I think you can get to elimination too without putting it on the backs of anyone. Let's make sure that we have a prosperous economy.
So, and this is where you and I are going to have a number of discussions about this because it's very deeper than a 7-minute segment. But,
right.
We don't have tax cuts as much as we have tax trade-offs. We will make a cut here and then increase it somewhere else. Oftentimes you'll see sales taxes go up, and that's regressive. That hurts the people that can't afford it the most. Being thoughtful and caring and having foresight is what's needed here. Your breakout session, lessons learned on big budget fights. Which fights?
So basically, whether we increase the budget by more than people can afford, or do we rein it in and make sure that we don't?
Yeah.
And so our big push for this session is going to be we need a stronger spending limit. We need limits in place.
Yes.
Right? One good measure is population inflation. Population is actually declining, so really you're just adjusting for inflation. If we could just do that, you could allow for more surpluses, potentially, right, if the economy continues to grow, and that gives you more money to give back to the taxpayer in the form of tax relief. So what we're really going to talk about is how do we start to slow the growth of spending in Louisiana to make sure that more of that money stays in the pockets of Louisianans.
What goes into that? Is it matter, will there be a certain need to kind of restructure to put more on the backs of the individual municipalities, as opposed to the state taking care of everything under the sun, which has been around since Huey Long?
Yeah.
You get a habit that lasts that long, it's hard to break.
That's right. No, you're right. But I think it is something that needs to be looked at.
Sure.
There's a big portion of the state's budget that's going to fund local issues.
Yeah.
But that should be funded at the local level.
Right.
And shift it back over. There's also another big fight, too, because all those federal funds that have come down the last couple of years, about 44%, nearly half of the state's budget is just federal funds.
Yeah.
And they're running, trillions of dollars of deficits. Over the next decade, they're averaging $2 trillion. They got $31.4 trillion in national debt, right? Where's the cuts going to be? The first cuts they're probably going to go are to the states. The state has to get its fiscal house in order to make sure that they can afford it for all the other things they want to spend money on.
We are talking with Dr. Vance Ginn. He's going to be part of the upcoming panel, Lessons Learned on Big Budget Fights. Are we going to be able to get an overview of
2 minutes.
At a certain point, some tough decisions are going to be made. How close are we to seeing where those decisions come from?
I think we're getting really close. And I think this session will be a great one to look at. One of the things, too, that we're going to talk about today is performance-based budgeting to make sure that you know where those dollars are going and whether or not those programs are effective or not, right?
Okay.
And look into the budget and say, okay, this program is working well, this one's not. We did need to take a deep dive into all these programs and reevaluate where those taxpayer dollars are going, because if not, the budget just gets on inertia and just continues to grow.
Which it has.
Yes.
And the more we're fed by federal dollars, the
Yes.
more it grows. It just
And those federal dollars, they incentivize you, right? Because you pull more in, but nothing's free. It either comes out of the right pocket or the left pocket. It's coming out of our pocket,
You say nothing's free.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I made the joke earlier about former treasurer. I think it was when Daniel was in a minute ago. Former treasurer John Kennedy said that federal dollars are like crack and we're a bunch of junkies. You say nothing's free, the first hit is. That's the way that rolls. But that's what we see.
1 minute.
Storm after storm, emergency after emergency. You go from hurricanes to pandemics to whatever. We should change the name from the state of Louisiana to the state of emergency.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly fed by that. And eventually you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm addicted.
Yes.
So-
No, that's exactly right. But sometimes you have to forego that first hit.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you keep going.
But
it's
that means
difficult.
discomfort.
Yeah,
that
it does.
means discomfort.
Yes.
For a lot of people, and it's fighting through it.
But the big spending is coming home to
30.
roost as we're seeing people leave.
Yeah,
We've got to start turning that around.
yeah. Like we said, this day, this event, just the beginning of what's to come for the next few months within the legislative session. He's Dr. Vance Ginn with the Pelican Institute. We're just scratching
15.
the surface, but this is where we're going to call it. We got to meet news at the top of the hour. Vance, I appreciate your time as always, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much. Thanks for being
10.
here.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me. All right, let's get caught up with news coming back with